Welcome to the Manifest podcast channel. Real manifestations from real Abraham Hicks people. Hearing other people's manifesting stories is inspirational, right? It reminds us that this stuff really works. If this person can, then so can you. Whether it's manifesting tens of thousands of pounds worth of free food flowing through your house, a beautiful cabin on an Abraham Hicks Cruise, the job you've always wanted but didn't know was actually out there, a wonderful loving relationship unlike anything you've ever experienced before, or 3 times as much money as you'd asked for. More on those later. This is where you're going to hear it all. So, get ready to have your mind blown, your energy heightened, and your vibration shifted at the miraculous and frequent real Abraham Hicks manifestation stories from Abrahamers just like you. Are you ready for fabulous examples from all around the world of what happens when you co-create with the universe? I hope so. After recently attending my very first, and definitely not last, Abraham Hicks Cruise, I noticed that every time I shared my own manifestation stories, listeners' eyes would light up, and every time I heard a manifesting story of someone else's, I felt my vibration rise higher too. There's one thing I love about manifesting. It's less about the size of the thing you manifested and more about the feeling of how it is as it manifested. Or as Abraham would say, you are not amassing stuff anyway, you are amassing your ability to create stuff. So, the next day, as I sat in the audience during one of the cruise workshops, I quietly asked Source where I could find more manifestation stories to binge on. The answer that immediately came back was, go find them and share them with the world. Where would I find them, I asked. And in the next few days I was introduced to more and more amazing beings who shared a wealth of utterly inspiring stories which I am so eager to share with you in future episodes. However, right now, here's some of my own favourite manifesting stories that I know you are itching to hear. So, let's talk about the tens of thousands of pounds worth of free food flowing through our house, shall we? During a moment of contrast and lockdown, I had the desire to have an abundance of food. You know, like shopping in 3 different supermarkets, as we call them here in the UK, in a week, and loving all the variety and the ideas that came from deciding what to create with it. Not long later, I became aware of food that the supermarkets were giving away, items that the food banks had turned away, and so set out to collect a handful of items off the volunteers who made this available to anyone who wanted it. 0 qualifications required. I remember getting home that first night with so much more than I'd expected to collect, bakery items and salad and all kinds of tasty things. It wasn't long before I had the opportunity to volunteer to help distribute this food, and as a volunteer, I was entitled to keep up to 10% of what I collected. And as I volunteered more and more, the flow kept increasing. Before long, I found bigger volunteering opportunities, and when Christmas came around, I handled over 3 pallet loads of food that the supermarkets were trying not to throw away. All this time, I became aware that the size of the vibrational pie grows. The food I was collecting was not depriving anyone else. It was over and above what any food bank or charity wanted. This was food that if I didn't collect, would be thrown in the bin. Sometimes there would be less food to collect, and originally I'd worried that maybe the supply was drying up. And then I began to notice that I could 100% trust the universe to know just the right amount of food to have ready for my collection each and every time. Because it was those weeks that either I had less time to process the food for redistribution, or there were less people wanting the food that week, or some such other situation. I'd smile when the supermarket staff would apologise for how little they had for me and say to them, truly, it's the perfect amount, because it always was. There were some stores that I'd collect from that some of my other fellow collectors would complain that they couldn't find a trolley to collect it in, but I'd say to myself, There will always be a trolley for me, and somewhere I'd find one waiting just for me right where I needed it. Other collectors would complain that the lifts weren't working, and I'd tell myself they always work for me, because they did. And others would complain that they had too much of a certain product, so they couldn't find enough people to redistribute it all, something I initially found myself tracking along with. And then I started to say, I always find homes for all the food I collect, and sure enough, I would always find new and different ways to redistribute all the food. As time went on, I found ways to move to better and better food collections, and found that I vibrated away from the complainers, and any I was connected to always felt that things just seemed to work out for me, and of course I'd smile and say, they really do. Another thing that came to my notice on my free food flowing manifesting journey was that, yes, we'd received thousands of pounds worth of wonderful frozen food, fabulous meat, massive collections of delicious fresh bakery, pallet loads of veg, and of course by this time we kept nowhere near 10% of what flowed to us. And yet, I could have a little thought about something that I wanted that week. And when I went to collect, you can bet I'd find it in there. Whether it was Q-tips, toilet rolls, perfume, cans of very specific brand of fizzy drink I enjoyed, or a bottle of washing fabric. Again and again I'd look at my collection, grin and say, of course. And every time it was like being a kid at Christmas. Pretty cool, hey? And that's not where this manifesting story finishes. Because apparently, if there's free food, there's free cars too. Or at least, that's what my inner being told me. While the food flowed, we experienced contrast with the cars in our lives. Both of those we owned were ready to retire, and so we started to look around for a new car. We wanted something nice and spacious for comfortable drives and something fairly new and reliable. However, we also didn't have a lot of money saved for this purchase, so whilst we'd look around the showrooms, most things felt out of reach budget-wise, and what was in our budget didn't fit our desires. We really wanted to do something fairly soon, and the whole looking process was feeling less than fun. Which prompted me to remind both myself and my partner that buying a new car is supposed to be fun. Could we please just go out and have fun looking and feel some eagerness about purchasing a new car, which is actually an exciting thing to do? Who knew? Then for some reason, and I still remember where we were driving when I said this, I said, I don't even know why I'm saying this, but something tells me there's someone out there giving away free cars. I mean, a couple of years ago, we didn't know there was such a thing as an abundant free supply of food, but look at what we're receiving right now. So, a free car? Isn't that far-fetched really, is it? And to be honest, I didn't think much more about it after that. However, a few days later on a Wednesday, I was just finishing up work for the day, and I thought, I feel tired and not as high vibe as I'd like to be, so I'm just going to listen to some of the Abraham audio subscriptions that had landed that day before I pop down and prepare tonight's meal. As I listened to just a few minutes of audio, I really felt my vibration shift around our desires with our car purchase, suddenly feeling the absolute possibility of having exactly what we wanted, even though I still didn't know how it would manifest. I went off down to whip up a delicious meal, feeling so much better. The following day, one of my partner's friends popped over and talked to him again about how he was taking delivery of his next brand new car. I say again because he'd mentioned it before, but due to resistance my partner hadn't believed that the scheme he was receiving this from was open to us. But knowing how much we were focused on getting a new car, he came up to tell me about it, and as he did so, he brought with him that morning's post that had just arrived. And as I opened the post, I discovered it contained a letter that had the link to this exact free car scheme. I suddenly realized something was very definitely happening. Barely able to contain my excitement, I told my partner I'd have a look and see what the situation was, almost certain this was our lucky ticket. And as I explored, I found that not only was the scheme open to us, but it had a whole range of beautiful brand new cars for us to pick from, including the one car that we'd sat in for 10 minutes a year earlier when we were looking at cars to rent for a holiday, and that we'd gone on and on and on about wanting ever since. This was a car we hadn't even allowed ourselves to look at when we'd been shopping for them the previous week. Correct that, we'd gone to the showroom, figured we couldn't afford what we wanted, asked about smaller models, hadn't received a great reception, and so left feeling low vibe. And now, here I was seeing that exactly what we wanted was one of our options, our dream car. Friday came, and I couldn't stop babbling about how awesome this was to our partner, who was slowly warming up while still feeling resistance and concern. I attempted to create an account online and bungled it up. Another bit of resistance, I think. So come Saturday, I just said, look, why don't we stop by the showroom and just have a test drive in this car? Before we could change our minds, we hopped in what we now call the old Kronk, our existing car at the time, and paid the showroom a visit. This time we decided to visit a different showroom. And of course our experience was completely different. Not only did we have different expectations when entering, but our energy was different too. And within 5 minutes of being there, we were offered a test drive in the car of our choice, which we were given permission to take out for as long as we wanted on our own. We had a thrilling ride around one of our favourite beaches, and my partner asked if I wanted to drive, and I remember replying, no, it's fine, I know I'll have a great time driving it when it's ours. I was so confident we were going to have this vehicle. Arriving back from our test drive, we walked into the showroom and said to the salesperson, we want to order one, please. And this began an experience I remember very clearly sitting there thinking, this is manifesting. This, right now, is what manifesting feels like. Every concern we raised, the salesperson let us know it wasn't an issue at all, even down to when we could take delivery. We wanted this ASAP, and the day before, I'd looked online to see how fast these vehicles were available. And the message that came back was, delivery can be up to 6 months. And I remember saying to myself, why are you looking that up? What other people experience has nothing to do with what you want. And of course, he told us that we could have the vehicle of our choice in 4 days' time. 4 days' time. Which of course was the perfect timing because we had booked to go away. Let's see, this was the Saturday. We were away Monday and Tuesday in London, and the earliest we'd be able to collect it was Wednesday anyway, which was the exact day he had just said we could have it. I'll never forget sitting there and my partner raising question/concern/question/concern after concern, and every single time the salesperson told him how he could have exactly what he wanted. I remember thinking, the universe wants us to have what we want and all we're doing is raising issues? It was fascinating to see that this was how I'd been thinking and how it didn't need to be. And here's the icing on the cake bit. Not only did we receive the car of our dreams completely free, but we even got paid £50 to have it. Yes, we were paid £50 to have a brand new car. And the deal also included free MOT, free insurance, free service, free breakdown, free new tyres. The universe always delivers more than you think you're asking for because you put so much more in the vortex than you remember. Also, how absolutely perfect that while we waited, of course there was barely a wait for our car anyway, we were away enjoying ourselves, having fun on holiday. And finally, one last manifestation that came from this chapter of unfolding. With our new car coming on the Saturday after, I listed my car for sale. 30 minutes later, I had 2 very interested buyers. By 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, the buyer had collected my car, paid me in full what I was asking for it, and this money had enabled me to purchase an online ticket to an in-person event with Abraham that was being live streamed. Something I'd said just 9 days before. Wouldn't it be nice to have $100 I could drop on attending my first online Abraham workshop? Well, 9 days later, I had that money that I hadn't known would come in that way, and I purchased my first online live stream of an in-person Abraham workshop. I could tell you of so many more amazing manifestations that have unfolded for me, and I'm looking forward to doing so in future episodes. But for now, thank you for listening to Manifest Episode 1. Welcome to the channel, and if you or anyone you know has a manifesting story that they are eager to share, please either reach out to me by email on heymanifest@gmail.com, that's HEYMANYFEST@gmail.com, or use the link provided below. Happy manifesting.
Can I let myself off the hook? Why